to bring you the first in our Roadmap to Recovery education and support series for households that have been impacted by the devastating wildfires that have hit so many parts of our state this summer. We will be giving a very broad overview on insurance and recovery orientation today. We will be bringing you some both heart and mind support from our organization, from our staff, myself, the executive director, Sandy Watts, who is our claims specialist, program coordinator for the Roadmap to Recovery, and then a very, very special part of our team, Karen Remus. So this is only the very, very first of a series of informational programming that we will be offering over the next 2 years to all of you out there that are in need of guidance at this difficult time. United Policyholders is a nonprofit. We've been helping disaster survivors and advocating for insurance consumers since 1991. We are not for profit, not for sale. We don't take funding from insurance companies so that we can have an independent voice, but we have a lot of expertise in insurance. We're funded by donations and grants. We are trusted and respected nationwide. We run 3 programs: the Roadmap to Recovery, which is the program we're offering you today, guidance on maxing out your insurance, making decisions, and getting back home after a catastrophic loss. The Roadmap to Preparedness, where we help households reduce risk, and then advocacy. And the Advocacy and Action program is integrated with our Roadmap to Recovery program because some of the challenges that you may experience on your road to recovery will require some extra help. And that kind of help is what we bring through the advocacy program. Who are we? What is Team Up? A professional staff, government and nonprofit partners, our volunteers, very, very important. These are previous catastrophic loss survivors, consumer-oriented professionals, lawyers, claim adjusters, tax and financial planning experts, construction and real estate professionals. That's who makes up Team Up. Little bit of fine print. This workshop is intended to be general guidance only, not legal advice. If you have a specific legal question, we recommend you consult an experienced policyholder attorney, and a great place to find them is in our Find Help directory on our website. We don't endorse or warrant any of the sponsors listed there, but we obviously have taken steps to find sources of help that are informed and knowledgeable and are oriented to helping you as the consumer of insurance and as a person who, or household, that needs to use insurance at this difficult time. I want to thank our funders and partners, the Napa Valley Community Foundation, the Community Foundation of Santa Cruz County. Both these foundations jumped in right as the fires were just hitting to make sure that we would be able to bring some support to your community. So we are very grateful. We're going to be covering today navigating recovery from a catastrophic loss, insurance basics, and sources of support and help. I want to give you a heads up that next up, our second webinar will be September 24th. It'll be a Thursday at 5 p.m. It's going to be virtual, just like this one, online. And here is information about it. We're going to, later in the program, I'm going to give you another link to register for that. That one, we're going to go a little deeper into how to read and understand your policy, figure out what's available to you. We're going to touch on those topics, but we don't want to overwhelm you. So this is really today just to give you broad brush, and don't worry if you miss things. After the program today, we will be sending out to everyone who registered and gave us your email address. We will send you a copy of the recording of today's program with the PowerPoint. So you will have that if you miss anything. So please try to be calm, take a deep breath, relax your shoulders so you can absorb some of this information. But just know that it will be available to you, and you can go back and catch things that you may have missed. This is me. I'm a lawyer. I'm a professional insurance consumer advocate. I've been doing this work since the 1980s. I've been dedicated to advancing your interests as somebody who has paid for insurance since 1984. I am one of the authors of the Yellow Disaster Recovery Handbook, as is our special guest today, Karen Remus. I co-founded United Policyholders, and I have been your voice and your advocate in the United States now for almost 3 decades when it comes to getting a fair shake from the insurance that you've paid for. Here's that book. If you didn't get a copy of it at your local assistance center and you want a copy of it, you can email us and we will get a copy out to you in the mail. This is really for best for people who are not using the internet. It's got a good inventory, very, very long list to help you jog your memory. And it's got some basic guidance, but we have a lot more information online. And so don't feel like you have to get that book. You will be able to access everything that you need. If you are computer savvy and you have access to the internet, this is where you want to go. This is our dedicated library for the August 2020 lightning complex wildfires. And this is where you should be going on a regular basis to get answers to your questions and find tips and tools that we'll be referencing in our programs. So again, this is just the beginning of your journey and just a few sources of support and help. Our organization, the California Department of Insurance, is a very good resource. Previous wildfire survivors, we have a lot of them in California. Team Up, case managers, those are people that will be available to you through our charitable partners. The Red Cross, the faith-based organizations, and FEMA will be bringing case managers to your area to help you find the aid and sources of support that are available to you. Your elected officials will be a good source along the way, FEMA, and of course your insurance policy and your insurance company is an important source of support. And then something called the voluntary claim handling reforms, which are a set of rules that will help get money in your hands faster, that are negotiated between insurance companies and the government. So with that, I want to turn this over to my dear friend and your friend, Karen Remus. Karen, take it away.
Good morning, everybody. As Amy mentioned, my name is Karen Remus, and I'm a 2003 Cedar Fire total loss survivor from San Diego. If you're watching this, I know that you've probably lost your home or you care about somebody who's lost their home or been seriously impacted. And I am sorrier than I can possibly say. This first part that you're in right now, this beginning part, in my opinion, as somebody who's walked this journey and had a total loss, this is the hardest part. This is the hardest part, and it gets better. It gets better. I remember thinking, as I went through the journey myself, it was like right after the wildfire hit. I'll just also mention we weren't home, so we did not get anything out. We were down to the ground. We got nothing out of the house. We were just not home that morning. And it was almost just like the ship of my life, our lives just completely capsized, just completely upside down, And then what happened is just slowly, it just starts to right itself. So right now, it might feel like everything is just upside down. It gets better and it just slowly starts to right itself. And it's a process. It's a process. Losing a home is an incredibly difficult experience. I mean, the first thing I would want to encourage you to do is just to be as kind and gentle with yourself as you can possibly be right now. There's a lot to process emotionally, pragmatically, and you do the best you can, and you cut yourself a lot of slack, all right? Just be as kind to yourself as you can possibly be right now. Similar to that, I would encourage you to try to be as kind and gentle with family members also. Speaking from my firsthand experience, as well as a 15-year volunteer with United Policyholders, the observations of working with many wildfire disasters, people process loss and grief in different ways. Even now, I can really just bring to mind very clearly the day our rental furniture arrived at our rental home, where we were going to be spending the next however long it took. It ended up being 21 months while our home was being rebuilt. This was not long after the fire, so obviously things were very raw. And the delivery truck for that furniture pulled up to the rental house, and they started unloading a couch and beds and end tables, everything, because everything went down. And my husband looked at me and he said something to the effect like this is great, the rental furniture is here. And he meant it. He was happy, and I get it. By contrast, when I saw them start unloading all of that furniture, it was just such a stark emotional reminder of everything that was gone. I didn't want to bring him down. I went to the closet of the master bedroom, shut the door, and just kind of gently cried for a few minutes. And it's just a reminder, people process loss in different ways. And I think knowing that up front can really help. So it can really be helpful to understand that, and just be gentle with each other, because people process loss in different ways. Additionally, accept help. Accept help. I cannot emphasize that enough. Family, friends, strangers, nonprofit charities, governmental entities, there's going to be, when people offer help of any type, take it. Friends and family who offer to assist you, they could run errands, they could drop off a meal, they could sort through donations. If you've got a friend who's super organized and really wants to help, let that person be your point person for people who want to help. So you really help them. I mean, imagine how you would feel if this had happened to somebody you cared about, and you would want to be there and assist them. So again, just let them help. There's a lot of things they can do, as you go through the process. For example, in a couple months, maybe you're like, okay, we're down to 3 builders or 3 contractors, but gosh, I need to check references. I need to check their licensing on the California State, licensing board, just the mound of things that have to be done. Tasks like that, those are things that you could offload to a friend, that you trust, to say like, hey, can you call in these references for me? Can you check the website for me on this particular, contractor's, licensing? So again, accept help. People want to help, so let them. Also, I'd really encourage you, stay connected to other fire survivors. Stay connected to other fire survivors. They are going to be one of your best sources of support, both emotionally and pragmatically. On the recovery pragmatics, people often share information about things like debris removal, builders, retailers offering discounts to fire survivors. I mean, the list is very long. So again, staying in touch by text, by email, if there ends up being either a Google group or a listserv, there's a lot of different ways you can stay in touch, but I encourage you to do that. Also, on just the support side, I can just tell you, no one is going to get this and understand what you're going through, especially because this is a process. It's not over in a month. It's not over in 2 months or 3 months. Nobody is going to get this like other fire survivors. And especially as time goes on and there's no longer a spotlight on this disaster, because other disasters will happen, other major news events will happen. So there's a lot of attention right now, but it can be a fairly lengthy process. So again, kind of like the spotlight will move, it's great to have your fire survivor community there with you. And you guys can just, again, share support amongst each other. And it's really nice to have people who know exactly what you're going through right here in this moment. Also remember, Amy mentioned this just a few minutes ago, that there is a whole community, an entire community of previous wildfire survivors here to encourage you and be here for you. I'm one of them, but there are many, many more. And one of the just amazing one of the most amazing resources that United Policyholders has, and believe me, that's a long list, is Team Up. So Team United Policyholders Team Up. Part of Team Up is a group of over 150 previous wildfire disasters survivors. And we're here. We've made it to the other side. So we've walked this journey and we've come out the other end. We're here to listen, just to listen. You need to vent. Something's going on. You're having a tough time. You know, any of a number of things can be going on. You know, we're here to listen, and we're here to offer some encouraging words. All right. So on behalf of our entire team, we're here for you and we care about you. All right. So make use of us. To reach us, all you need to do is send an email to United Policyholders, info@uphelp.org, to reach Team Up. All right. So we're here for you and we care. Additionally, just remember, losing a home, I mean, I started off with this, it's a very disorienting experience, especially the early days. Like I said, in my opinion, this is the hardest part. You're in it, but it gets better. All right, it gets better. I remember on one of the hardest days, very soon after my home was down, I remember it was just a tough day. You know, there was just so much going on, sorting through debris. My kids were upset. My kids were 2 and 7 when our house burned down, and just, the adjuster's calling, and then, there's meetings to attend, and there's just so much. And it was definitely overwhelming at times. And I just remember I was having a tough moment, and my best friend, she looked at me and she just said, she goes, Karen, she goes, listen, she goes, you're going to make it. She goes, someday you're going to be sitting in the kitchen of your rebuilt home, and this is going to be over. And you can't tell from right now because I'm just kind of in front of this plain wall, but I'm sitting in the dining room of my rebuilt home. And the good news is this does have an endpoint. This does have an endpoint, and you're going to get there. You're going to make it. And there's so many people, United Policyholders, a whole host of others, to be there to help you, support you, and be there with you along this journey. I mean, United Policyholders played a critical role in our recovery. And Amy was mentioning some of the resources. I just cannot, again, from firsthand experience, encourage you enough as the process goes on, and to make use of those resources. Amy said it, and as usual, she is correct. Keep going back to the website. Information evolves. The claims library, the information library on the UP website, free, right there. That's a treasure trove as you move through this process. So just remember, there's help. You've got previous wildfire survivors. We are here for you. You've got all of Team UP, the staff, the volunteers, and as Amy mentioned, a whole host of other resources that are currently and will be there assisting you on this journey. Again, your state and local officials, California Department of Insurance, other nonprofits. So again, let them help. We care and we're here for you. I'm going to end with what I hope will be just a story of encouragement as you begin your own journey of recovery. So this is a photographic timeline of our families, and this is just one family's journey. Everybody's timeline is a little bit different. This is ours. And so our journey home from the Cedar Fire. So here we go. And Amy, let's go ahead and go to the next slide. So some of you probably already have pictures like this, unfortunately. This is 2 days after our home was lost. This was the first day we were able to get back and actually see the property. And this is sorting through the debris that was our home. And that's our daughter's bicycle. And, the Cedar Fire swept through our county, and it destroyed over 2,200 homes. And mine was one of them. And this was the beginning of that journey. And this is kind of, where you're at right now. It gets better. Let's go to the next slide. All right, a couple months later, hey, it's March 2004, right? So, because my mom went down in 2003. So a couple months later, hey, by this time we've hired a builder. We've hired a builder. Thank you, Stonefield Development, for putting us back together. That was, it was a big step forward, and again, the resources that we found from United policyholders, others, that all helped us on our journey to figure all this out. And we've hired a builder, and it's just a few months later. Here we go, August 2004, again, a few months after that. There's the foundation being poured on our new house. That was a good day. Even now, it's a lot, 17 years, I remember that. 16 years, I remember that clearly. We were so happy. It's just such a good moment, and it's coming. It's coming. There we go, October. So now we're looking for on our timeline, and again, people's timelines differ. This was about a year. There's our framing going up. And in our community, we called that sticks in the air. Like, oh, we got sticks in the air. And so you would talk to your friends and be like, oh, we got sticks in the air. And they'd be like, yeah. And it felt good. Let's go to the next one. January 2005, and it's starting to look like a house. So, it was nice to see it. I would come out all the time to see it. We weren't renting horribly far away, not next door by any stretch, but would come, and it would just be great to see as it would evolve. And the second story's on it, and it's starting to look like a house. And the next one. And March 2005. Now, again, we've got the exterior going up, and, you see the roofing, the roofing tiles are there. And, it's just great to see it coming along. We'll go to the next one. And there we are, July 17th, 2005. And that's the day that we moved back in. For us, our journey was 21 months. And again, people's journeys vary. Some people it's shorter, some people it's longer. No, you and your neighbors, you may not have the same timeline. There's a lot of variables. This was our story. And if we go even one more, this was after we had our landscape put in. And so you can kind of see what it looks like once we were really back in with a mature landscape and home sweet home. And so again, it's coming. It's coming. This is the hardest part, but it's gonna get better. And the ship, like I said, the ship is gonna slowly just right itself. So you just hang in there, accept help, be kind and gentle to yourself, and know that all of us here at Team UP, all of us are here for you. Thanks, Amy.
Thank you so much, Karen. Really helpful. And, for all of you who have tuned in today, we know that you are in different parts of the state. You may be had been in a very rural area. Karen lived in a suburban area, and her rebuild was part of a group rebuild, where she was able to get together with some of her neighbors and get some cost savings by buying in bulk. There are lots of approaches here. And again, we are just giving you some broad brush information here, but we will be through this Roadmap to Recovery series and through the interim, we do webinars. We have something called What's Up, where we answer questions. We will be hitting all these topics in depth over the next couple of years and the next few months. So again, don't try to figure it all out at once. Just let this information come to you, and know that we will explain it more in depth as the months unfold. So this is a message we like to just remind people that it's really, you heard Karen say, it's a process. It's not going to happen tomorrow. And so, it's really a good idea to get your mindset as much as you can to be in the right frame of mind, that you are embarking on a journey, a process, and that it's not a sprint. And there's a lot of pressure on you in the early weeks. People are coming at you with information, and you feel pressure to make decisions. And our very important message to you is, please pace yourself. Don't rush. This is hard advice to follow because you do want to get home as quickly as you can. But we have seen people rush into major financial decisions in the first weeks or month after they lose a home, and they sometimes regret those decisions. So take your time. Losing a home is incredibly disorienting. You know, you're probably experiencing some sleep deprivation, which makes it harder to make good decisions, and under stress. It really takes months for most people to regain their normal memory and critical thinking. And so why is insurance such a big deal? Well, obviously, because it is a vehicle to get you back where you were before your loss. There's government aid, but it's nothing compared to the kind of dollars that your insurance policy will generate. It is a vehicle to get you back where you were, but it won't drive itself. And by that, we mean you have to be proactive to restore your assets, to collect all available insurance funds, assert your rights, and ask for what you need. Now, you don't need to reinvent the wheel. You heard Karen say it, and you know this is true. There have been many wildfires in California in recent years, and we all have a lot of experience in the help sector at what kind of challenges you may encounter and strategies for overcoming them. So just again, pace yourself. What's step one? Getting a copy, complete and current copy of your home insurance policy, which you do by requesting it in writing. You can do it by email, you can do it by mail. You want to ask for a certified copy. That just means the official copy, so that you know that what you are working with is current, and it applies to your property. You need something called the declarations page. That's the front page, usually 1 or 2 pages, and the entire policy, including what are called endorsements and riders. That's extra wording that gets added to your policy that may provide additional coverage, or it may alter the wording. But that together, the deck page, the contract, endorsements, riders, that is the whole package of what funds and what rules you'll need to know about. We suggest making a working copy of that policy so you can scribble on it, write questions in the margins, highlight. We're going to be suggesting that you read it again. We know it's hard. We know this is hard advice to follow. Judges and overeducated people stumble on insurance policies because they are written with fancy words, and they get tinkered with by insurance company lawyers, so they are hard to read. But you do have a lot of legal rights in the state to protect you because you invested in protecting your asset. You bought insurance, and you have the right to the full value of what you invested in, and to get that protection now when you need it. We offer a sample letter for getting that policy. By law, your insurer has to give it to you within 30 days after you've requested in writing. They shouldn't really need that long. And of course, if you have it yourself, then you can get started right away with whatever you have. Just still request it from the insurer so you know that the policy that you're working off of is the same one they're working off of. And if you are having trouble getting that copy of your insurance policy from your insurer, the Department of Insurance, CDI stands for California Department of Insurance. So just a few words about the state of mind, that mental state that we suggest that you have as you start your journey. Give your insurance company a chance to do the right thing, but don't be a pushover. Understand that knowledge equals power and money. The more you understand about insurance, your rights, and the value of your losses, the more benefits you'll recover to rebuild your home and life, and the smoother your claim will go. But we've got to remind you that ads are ads. You know, Flo isn't showing up with her wand, or, you know, there's no magic wand that your insurance adjuster brings. Those are ads. Think of your insurance claim as a business transaction, and understand the playing field that you're on. The insurance company wants to minimize the money it pays out on your claim. You want to maximize. So your interests are not perfectly aligned with the insurance company. And so we say an adjuster may be friendly, but they're not your friend. They're a trained negotiator. And that's not to say that you should expect a fight. We certainly hope that you don't have a fight. Some claims go smoothly from beginning to end. We hope yours does. But when large dollars are at stake, the reality is disputes often arise. Getting informed about common disputes will help you avoid problems. So getting on the road to recovery. Obviously, step one is getting resituated in a comfortable place to live. And that's where your benefits for temporary living expenses come in. And they can be labeled in different ways, depending on what insurance company you're with. They can be called loss of use benefits. They can be called ALE, which stands for additional living expense benefits. But what they are, that's a pot of money that's available in your policy to reimburse you for expenses that you incur due to the losing the use of your home. And they include rent for comparable housing and furniture, laundry costs, for example, if your rental doesn't have a washer dryer, boarding your pets, food while you don't have a kitchen, and not your mortgage payments. So that was an expense that you had before the loss. So that is not considered a loss. That is not, you can't get compensation for the mortgage because you still owed it. You owed it before, you owe it now. But what you can get compensation for are anything above and beyond what your living expenses were before. And so that's an important thing to understand. So you can ask for a cash advance on your ALE. Now you saw that we use the word reimbursement. The typical way that an insurance policy is worded is you have to pay for these expenses out of your own pocket and then submit the receipts to get reimbursed. But we've been part of a movement to convince insurers that the better practice after disasters is not to require the displaced household to front those expenses, but instead to have the insurance company give you an advance of up to 4 months of temporary living expenses. And this is a negotiation that can go on between you and your insurance company, and you can seek help from the department. The insurance company is not legally required to give you this advance, but many of them have agreed to do it. So how do you figure out how much your ALE coverage is, your temporary rent and all that? How much is available to you? Well, you look on that deck page. And again, we're going to be offering the next webinar on September 24th. We're going to go much deeper with Sandy Watts and Emily Rogan of our team. They're going to walk you through how to figure out all this math of what's the maximum amount of benefits that are available to you. The reason it matters is so that you can look ahead and do a little bit of budgeting in terms of what the rent is at your temporary place, or what other options you may want to pursue, such as buying a tiny home on your property during reconstruction, or there's a lot of different options, buying a fifth wheel, lots of options, because in many areas we know that temporary housing is in short supply and high demand, which means it can be a budget buster. So it is important to know how much loss of use funds you have available. Now in California, no matter how much dollar amount is available to you, you have at least 24 months and up to 36 months to use that dollar amount. So you want to know that you're going to be able to make it stretch. So you don't want to shoot your wad on a really expensive place early on and stay there, because you're going to end up using up your expenses before you are able to move back in. So these are just things to sort of think about. There's some creativity, as I mentioned. You may be able to negotiate with your insurer the fair rental value of what your home would have rented for if you had been renting it out, and get your insurer to pay you that amount, the fair rental value, instead of making you go through this submitting receipts and the whole reimbursement process. But again, that's something that you need to negotiate with your insurer. Buying a fifth wheel, buying a tiny home, buying an RV. These are all a bit outside of the traditional way that your insurer would have been paying for your temporary living expenses. And so that's why we use the word creativity. That's why we say, if you don't ask, you won't get. The worst that can happen is they say no. Obviously, insurance companies are being hit with a lot of claims, so they are more open to flexibility in some cases, because obviously they're trying to keep moving forward as well. That is one way that your interests and the insurance company's interests are aligned. You want to keep moving forward. They want to keep moving forward. They want to resolve your claim. You want to collect all the benefits. So keeping that in mind, you can ask for things that are going to make your path easier. And if the insurance company can see the logic, they very often will agree to that flexibility. The next important item, removing debris. This is something that can be done by you as an individual or through a coordinated process. We highly recommend that if your city, town, or region is organizing, as many counties are doing these days after wildfires, they are organizing coordinated debris removal. They are arranging with the removal companies, the counties entering into contracts with these companies so that you don't have to vet and find the right outfit. They're doing it. You have to sign. Generally, you're going to have to give the county in writing permission to remove your debris, and you have to generally assign them your insurance money that you have available for debris removal in order to participate in that group program. This is not a decision you have to make today. It's just understand that it is your obligation to get the debris removed off your property, but your local government may be there to help you do that safely, because the most important thing is that debris get removed safely, because it often does include hazardous materials. Before the debris gets removed from your lot, you want to photograph it. And if it's too painful for you to do that, that's one of those things you can ask a friend to do for you, to go and take pictures. You saw Karen's daughter's bicycle in the remains. It's incredibly painful, but taking photographs before the debris gets taken away will help jog your memory about some things, but also help create some proof that your insurer may require of contents of your home that were lost. Save those photos where you'll be able to find them down the road. And the state of mind we recommend is that you speak up. And by that we mean present requests clearly and in writing, be that squeaky wheel that the insurance company can deal with, because you're clear about what you want, why you want it, why you need it, and why you're entitled to it. And you can help drive your claim with the adjuster. And one of the most important things that we recommend is to keep a claim diary. So any notebook will do. If you picked up one of our purple recovery journals at a local assistance center, great, but any notebook will do. And you want to keep it going every day if you can. And in that diary, you're going to keep notes on who you talked to, their phone number, date and time, what was said. And this is a way of when everything feels like it's upside down and, like Karen said, the boat's been capsized, and it's just so overwhelming. Keeping a diary will really help you feel like there's more order again, and and it's also to track your progress and really keep yourself somewhat organized in this very difficult time. And also because after disasters, adjusters tend to rotate. So the insurance company will assign an adjuster, and it may take a little while because of all these fires that hit at the same time. But once an adjuster is assigned, that adjuster may stay on your claim for weeks, months, or even years, or more likely, that adjuster will move on and get reassigned, and a new adjuster will get put on your claim. And you may have to deal with many adjusters over the next few months and years. And keeping that diary is a good way of avoiding having to waste time bringing a new adjuster up to speed, or if the previous adjuster agreed, for example, to something flexible, like, okay, we're going to give you this advance on your temporary rent and you don't have to submit receipts for your food. If the previous adjuster said that and you wrote that down in your diary and another adjuster comes along and says, no, we don't do that, you've got the proof that they already agreed to it. And then that way you can keep moving forward and not have to take a step back every time a new adjuster comes in. You have a right under California law to get a progress report if your insurance company rotates adjusters within a 6-month period. They have to give you a progress report. And again, very important to, when you are speaking up, to use that working copy of the policy to, when, if an adjuster tells you, you must do this or you can't do that, you've got this policy, and you ask them, please show me where it says that in my policy. What we have learned over the years about adjusters is that they're like people. They vary. They vary in experience. They are people. They vary in experience. They vary in temperament. You know, you may get along well with one, and then if they leave, somebody else comes along and they may be more prickly and you don't get along with them. Again, it's your loss, it's your claim, it's your insurance, it's your rights to have your claim be adjusted timely, fairly, and fully. So your diary will help you make sure that happens. And like I said, a paper trail is essential. And when I talk about a paper trail, I'm not just talking about your journal or diary. I'm talking about your communications with the insurance company. It's very important that when you write to the insurance company and that you create a paper trail that shows the history of your claim, that documents that you've been cooperating, that tells them what you need and why, that asks them what you need to resolve your claim, points out specific things they may have not done that are holding up the resolution of your claim, politely reminding them about your personal situation, and giving them a reasonable, specific time frame to reply to you and give you what you need. And there are rules in California, which we will be explaining to you in depth as we go. There are regulations that are called the Fair Claim Handling Regulations that tell the insurance company how they must behave. And there are laws, there are fair claim settlement laws. There's a lot of consumer protections in place. But laws and regs are one thing, reality is another. You know, when you're interacting with the insurance company, it's you and them. And 2 words describe the approach most likely to get what you need: polite assertiveness. People have talked about you get more flies with honey. We are well aware that sometimes it is very hard to be patient and not vent and not get angry when an adjuster tells you things that are not what you want to hear. And just to remind you that adjusters will come in from out of state after disasters. They may not, they should know California law. They should be trained in the regulations and the rules, and they should know what your rights are, but sometimes they don't. So our job at United Policyholders, and what we're trying to do here with you today, is to give you the information so that if your adjuster tells you something that's not accurate, you can correct them politely and be a voice to make sure that your claim is getting processed in keeping with the regulations and laws, even if that adjuster is not aware of what they are. We are here to tell you what they are and help you be that squeaky wheel that gets paid. We very much suggest opening a separate bank account so that you can keep your insurance funds separate. We suggest learning to speak insurance, just basics, just basics. You don't have to become an expert, although many disaster survivors will tell you that they know a lot more about insurance than they ever wanted to or ever thought they would. And so there's just a few really important things you want to know. At first, it may sound as if your adjuster is speaking a foreign language. You know, they'll talk about things like coverage A, ACV, scope of loss. they'll pick it up quickly. Most policies follow a similar format and are divided into sections or buckets of coverage. And again, we'll be going deeper into that on the 24th. Before you sign on the dotted line, if your insurer asks you to sign a proof of claim form before you know how much you really have lost, then we suggest writing in undetermined under the amount of loss. Don't commit yourself to a dollar figure before you've tallied up the value of your losses. And that really takes quite a bit of time. So if the adjuster's rushing you, you're not to be rushed. It takes time to value a large or total loss. Months, sometimes even a year. Avoid signing contracts in these first few weeks before you really have a chance to vet those professionals and to know what your options are. So for example, we talked about debris removal. Somebody comes and says to you, oh, I'll come and, I've got a truck and I'm going to clear your lot. That's not an offer you want to take right off the bat. You want to really figure out what other options you may have. So again, getting a feel for your options includes knowing what money will be available to you, the maximum available benefits. And that takes some work. Why? Because it's insurance. So it has to be, I guess, a little complicated apparently. So here's an example of those buckets of coverage that you'll find in a typical policy, right? And this is where you look at that deck page, that first page. You'll see A, B, C, D in most policies, dwelling, other structures, personal property. These are buckets of coverage for each of those categories of your assets. And you can see on this one of these endorsements I talked about, that extra that may be in your policy. And here you see circled, this sample has a maximum of 300,200 on the dwelling, but that number is not the max. That number gets adjusted upward because there is this endorsement that gives you 150% of that 300,000. So again, what you see there in that box, A, is not all you've got. There's more in many policies, not all, but in many. So in order to do that math, you've got to piece it all together. And there you see this person has that 150 extra, and they also have building code upgrade, which hopefully you have. You need to do that math on the max and get help with that when needed. And again, we'll be walking you through this on the 24th. You can get more information about this on our website, but this is just an example. You saw in that last one, the coverage A was 300. For this example, let's say you have 500,000. Well, one of the adjustments that's in most policies is an inflation adjustment, and it's typically something like 3%. So you adjust your coverage A for that formula. Another adjustment you may need to make through math is if you have extended replacement cost of, let's say, 25%, then again, that 500,000 gets adjusted up to become 675,000. And then if you have 15% debris removal, then 15% of that 500, then your debris removal coverage would be 101,000. This is just an example to show you how the kind of math that you need to do or that needs to happen in order for you to figure out the maximum available dollars that you might be able to collect under your policy, subject to the value of your losses. This is just an example of where you can make that chart of your maximum limits. It's something we highly recommend, so you know what you're dealing with. The coverage A is the big ticket item in your policy. And there again is that example. We talked about extended replacement. Again, that's just that you may have it, you may not. If you do have it, it's a question of doing the math to figure out how much it adjusts your available benefits upward. If your home that was damaged or destroyed was a mobile or manufactured home, you generally will have the same 4 buckets of coverage available to you. The dwelling, other structures, that would be retaining walls, outbuildings, detached garage, or if you had a pool. Those would go in that other structures under B. C, your contents. And then D can be either your landscaping or your debris removal, again, depending on what insurance company you're insured with. Different companies use different wording and categories, but these are the basics. And for a mobile or manufactured home, the biggest challenge that most people will have has to do with the way that the insurance company will depreciate the value of your home when they are calculating what they will pay you. And because manufactured and mobile homes are considered to lose value quicker than a stick-built, you often will have to argue over what the replacement value or even the actual cash value of your home was. How your insurer will value your dwelling and personal property losses. There are basically two standards they're going to use: the replacement value, what it would cost for you to replace it now at today's dollars, and then the actual cash value. What would somebody have paid for that asset, that item, either the home or the personal property item, the day before the loss? So the as was. Those are the two standards that insurance companies use to decide how much they owe and when they're going to pay it, okay? RCV, replacement cost value, ACV, actual cash value, are two terms that you're going to need to kind of get a feel for and understand, because those two standards of valuing your loss and calculating how much money the insurer is going to pay you in benefits often hinges on whether that item is covered for replacement cost value or only for actual cash value. And that difference is going to be explained in the policy and also in California law. This is probably starting to make your eyes roll back, so we're going to keep moving here, but I want to give you just a general feel for the process here. And your adjuster, the insurance company is going to do their own valuation of your losses. United Policyholders recommends that you also do your own. Trust but verify, okay? Because remember, your objective is to maximize the value of your insurance benefits. Your insurance company is much more focused on just paying what they need to pay and closing your claim. So it's your assets, you have the biggest stake, so we recommend not to pick a fight, but to do your own loss valuation. And if you can't do it yourself, we recommend getting professional help for that. Okay, so just generally, the flow of insurance funds can come in three ways. Number one, advances. Number two, actual cash value payments when the value of the damaged or destroyed item has been agreed to. And three, a replacement cost value payment upon proof that you spent money or replaced an asset or completed repairs. That's three ways insurance funds can flow to you. Valuing your home's replacement costs, again, we're not going to get into this in any depth today. This is down the road. We're just giving you a general feel. And that is when I talked about you want to do your own valuation. The adjuster typically is going to use something called Xactimate. It's a construction estimating program. Real life builders don't usually use Xactimate. They base their estimates on bids from subcontractors. But the way insurers are valuing losses today to try to keep things moving is they use Xactimate, which means that you may have apples to oranges. If the adjuster is saying, here's your home's, we valued your home, it should cost this much to put back, you need to trust but verify by getting estimates from a real builder, somebody that actually would build that house. Because we know that computers don't rebuild houses, construction professionals, contractors do. So what they tell you is going to be more accurate than what a computer tells you. But this is down the line. Another thing to flag, 2/3 of the wildfire survivors that our organization has worked with over the last some 29 years have come up short in one category on their insurance. It's typically the dwelling. Many homes turn out to be underinsured after wildfires. This may happen. This may be your situation. If it does, we will be covering it in workshops, and there is a lot of information on this topic on our website. We talked a little bit about how your losses are going to be valued, your stuff and your home, right? What's lowballing? Lowballing is when an insurance company undervalues your loss or offers you less than the actual cost to repair or replace. Why would they do that? The same reason that anyone in a large dollar business transaction makes a low opening offer, right? They're not here to give away money. They're a for-profit company. We just want you to understand that, because most of us, our conception of what insurance is has been fueled by seeing the signs at the Little League games. There's State Farm sponsoring the halftime break, and you see all these ads and you think, oh yeah, my insurance company is going to be there for me, fast, fair, and friendly. Well, friendly, we hope they are, but we really want you to understand the reality that this is a business transaction, and sometimes lowballing happens, and you need to counteract it by getting your own numbers, and presenting your insurer detailed written estimates, and possibly hiring professional help to get an independent scope of loss for your destroyed dwelling. So we're going to be talking about all this stuff in more detail, but again, just a broad brush. Coverage B, other structures, we talked about this. This is another bucket of coverage. Your personal property, what is personal property versus what's part of the house? Is your stove personal property, or is it part of the dwelling? Well, what we say is visualize taking the roof off your home, turning it upside down, shaking it, and whatever would fall out is personal property. Now, there are some things that can go either way, like appliances, because they obviously wouldn't fall out because they are attached. If you are underinsured on your dwelling and you have enough on your personal property, you want to put those appliances in the personal property category. If you're underinsured on your personal property, you would put them with your dwelling. But again, this is details that you don't need to worry about right now. Okay, so we've gotten through the basics of what should your state of mind be, what are your rights, where can you get help, what can you expect in the months and years ahead, and now we can get back a little bit to how you're going to get through this. You heard Karen talk about staying connected with other fire survivors. You can do that through our organization. You can do it through some of the Facebook groups that are being set up. Great sources of information. You heard Karen explain, no one understands your challenges and emotional state like another survivor. That said, I also like to throw a note of caution out there. You got to protect yourself. If other people are dealing with the situation with a lot more stress than you're trying to stay calm, obviously not a great idea to be around other survivors that may increase your stress level. So just be thoughtful, because as Karen said, people react and respond to stress in different ways. And so just, try to, as Karen said, be kind to yourself, and just stay as centered as you can, which is easier said than done. I realize that. Amazingly, there are scam artists out there that come out of the woodwork after disasters. We've heard too many stories about builders that come in from out of the area, sign people up to do the construction, take a down payment or an advance, and then flake and don't finish. So really don't jump too fast to make your decisions on who's gonna repair or rebuild your home. You don't want to be making those decisions in the first few weeks in our experience. Be very careful before you pay any large upfront fees. Check customer referrals, license status, and then we have a great publication at our website, Questions to Ask a Contractor. And this is where people who've been there, done that, can be a great source of help. Public adjusters are available, and they can be a great source of help, but they're just like any other professional. There are good ones, and there are ones that you want to avoid. What is a public adjuster? Well, you have a company adjuster that's on the payroll of the insurance company. You have things called a category called independent adjusters, but that is the same thing as a company adjuster. They're just working for the insurance company, and that's who they report to. If you want to have your own adjuster that reports to you, that's going to do all that math and going to deal with all these hassles, there's no shame in that. You paid for good coverage and claim service. You shouldn't have to pay for your own adjuster. But in this world, in the reality of your life, maybe you don't have the time. Maybe you don't have the mental energy. Maybe you are, it's just too depressing for you, or you have a job and you're too busy, or you have little kids, or you have a physical or condition or a disability of some kind. A public adjuster can take the burden off of you. But again, and they work on a contingency fee basis. So you don't pay out of pocket. You pay them a cut of what they collect for you. So their fee comes out of your insurance benefits. But as they will tell you, it can pencil out for you because if they're good, they will get you more insurance benefits than you typically could get on your own. But if they're not, you're going to be giving some of your benefits to them. And that's something that most people cannot afford to do unless that public adjuster is adding value. So you really need to make sure, especially if you're underinsured, that the adjuster that you hire, a public adjuster, is charging you a reasonable fee, and those fees are negotiable. They're between typically 7 and 15%. So you can negotiate their fee, but you really need to check their references. A red flag should go up if you encounter one that's trying to rush or pressure you. The pros of hiring a PA, a diligent one, can take the weight off your shoulders by fully documenting your claim and negotiating a higher settlement than you might get on your own. The cons, an overloaded or unethical PA can further delay your claim by going AWOL and the insurance adjuster is saying, well, I've been asking for stuff and I'm not hearing from your PA. That can drag your claim out and make matters worse. You don't want that. So again, hire carefully. If you're going to go the PA route, be sure to only hire a licensed public adjuster. Ask for their license and check it. Ask for references and check them. Ask them if they're a member of CAPIA, which is the State Association of Public Insurance Adjusters, or NAPIA. Membership in either of those organizations is a good sign. That shows that they are the kind of professional that cares about ethics, because both those organizations have ethical rules that their members agree to abide by. Okay, and we know that there have been all kinds of meetings, and you may already have been solicited by public adjusters, but just understand they may talk and sound like us. They may sound like United policyholders in some of the things that they say, and their hearts may be with you as ours are, but they are in business. They are not not-for-profits. So again, it's on you to check their qualifications before you agree to have them be your representative. Okay, just a recap on strategies for proving your losses. Photographs, public records, home purchase documents, virtual real estate listings, Zillow, Google Earth will probably have a great aerial image of your home as it was before. Our library, we have our Survivor Speak series, and then networking with neighbors and sharing ideas for proving your losses. Keep up that paper trail. We talk about learn to earn, know your policy limits. Only you know the condition that your property was in and what you had. Take advantage of our website. We offer sample letters to help you be a good communicator. And then the Department of Insurance is available toll-free. They are one of the most pro-consumer state insurance departments in the nation. They have a consumer services bureau. They have complaint handlers. If you are having a hard time with an adjuster, or if your insurance company is telling you something that doesn't sound right, file a request for assistance with the CDI. It doesn't cost any money, and all it can do is make matters better. People think they're worried about complaining because they think that their insurance adjuster is going to get mad at them, or the insurance company is going to take it out on them for complaining. You know, that is really not a valid concern, because the Department of Insurance, they have authority over your insurance company, and your insurance company wants to keep them happy. So if you file a request for assistance, the department goes to the insurer and you will get action in most situations. You may not get everything you want, but you will definitely get the attention of the insurance company if you are having a hard time reaching somebody or things are dragging out. So CDI, free help, not a substitute for professional help, but is a good source of free support. We will be going into this in much more detail later on. These are some of the key time periods. You've got 15 days the insurer has to respond to your communications, 40 days to pay or deny. Those deadlines get extended, obviously, but they are written to the law and they're there for your benefit. Best practices, we've already gone through this, keeping that paper trail up so that you're communicating clearly with your insurance company throughout. Letting them know by using good grammar and being concise, avoid venting. You're letting them know that you are a force to be reckoned with. You are that squeaky wheel. You're going to get what you're entitled to, and you are a United policyholder. So time is on your side, believe it or not. The longer a claim stays open, the more money the insurer pays. That's what we've seen over the years. Ask for extensions and advances when you need them. And just remember, fully and accurately documenting a major loss takes time. We're here for you 24/7 on the web at uphelp.org with our sample letters, our professional help directory where you can find links to law firms, public adjusters that support our organization and that have the qualifications. We don't endorse them. We still, even if you find them in our library, you still need to check them out and get their references. But it's a good place to start. Here's the Department of Insurance. There's their toll-free number. You can file a request for assistance online through email, or you can do it by phone, okay? And stay informed. Encourage your friends to email info@ to be added to our mailing list for notices of future events and updated guidance, or to get a copy of today's PowerPoint and recording. Because you already registered for today, you will automatically we will be mailing out to everybody who signed up today. We will mail you the link to the recording of today's workshop and the PowerPoint. Our next one, as I've been reminding you, will be September 24th at 5 p.m. The topic is how to read and understand your policy, figuring out available benefits, understanding more about the rules I talked about today, understanding these math formulas. That's going to be led by Emily Rogan, our Senior Program Officer, and Sandy Watts, our Program Coordinator, who has almost 3 decades of experience adjusting claims for insurance companies and has been on our team now for several years as a source of expertise. So I encourage you to register for that webinar and spread the word about that will be happening. Now, before we wrap up, I wanted to ask Sandy Watts if we had any additional questions that came up. We've gone a little over, but we got through all the information. Sandy, are there questions that you'd like us to ask that we didn't cover in the program today?
Yeah, we've got a lot of questions. We've got a bunch of questions sort of along the same vein. So one of the questions is, a lot of the questions are about partial losses, Amy. So smoke damage losses. And first off, with respect to ALE, okay? So some people have been evacuated for more than the 2 weeks for the civil authority coverage on their policy, so they're asking about that. And then some people have questions about the fact that the water and the power, that there's no infrastructure. The infrastructure has been destroyed. And so even if they could get back to their homes, there's no water or power.
Okay, so on the question of ALE evacuation, if you've evacuated and you had ALE expenses and you want to put in a claim for those, we have at the basic library that we set up for this this event. We've got a link to a bulletin that Insurance Commissioner Laura put out last week, encouraging insurers to be honoring those claims and that not require, if people haven't been able to access their property, to prove that it's been damaged or is uninhabitable, that insurers still pay those. So in our basic library for the 2020 wildfires, you will find a link to that publication. You will also find our Survivor Speak tips on ALE and what to do when your insurer is withholding those benefits and you feel that it's unfair. Sandy, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, so there's a couple of things with that. If you haven't been able to get back to your house yet, hang on, because in most cases, you're going to have smoke damage that takes your coverage out of that 2-week civil authority and into the regular ALE, additional living expense portion of your policy. So it could be that, it could be that you're, that it's not an issue if you have actual damages. Now, the other thing I'm going to say about the people whose houses maybe are okay, we'll talk about that when we talk about smoke, because they may or may not be okay. But certain policies, and we'll get into this when we read your policy, but certain policies say, so the standard policy says if a loss insured okay, you've got a fire, that's a loss insured, causes your premises to become uninhabitable, then they'll pay the increased cost to maintain your standard of living. So my read under that is if your policy says that, and because of the fire, your house is uninhabitable because you have no power or water, you've got coverage. Okay, so that's my position on that. However, some policies, and I'm aware of a Farmers Next Gen policy that specifically says if your house is uninhabitable because there are no utilities, because they've been damaged off-site, then the coverage doesn't apply. So you need to read your policy. And
thank you. And as you were talking, I brought up the landing page for the library to show folks that, and this is the August 2020 Lightning Complex Wildfires, California, to show you what it looks like, and to show you the link here. If you lost your home in a wildfire and you want to get a cash advance to get situated, here's some information, and then here's the bulletin from the Department of Insurance that just came out on this topic. Expedited claim handling, billing grace periods. This is an example of information that the Department of Insurance is offering that should help you. But again, for partial loss, if you were fortunate in that your home was spared, but unfortunate in that it was damaged and subjected to extreme heat, we have a whole section of our library for partial losses. And here we go.
Yes.
For proper cleaning and restoring healthy indoor air quality.
Right.
And what else?
So
what else do you have, Sandy?
Yeah, that segues exactly into the second. So that's perfect timing there, Amy. The second set of questions had to do with their adjusters telling them that, different things like their house isn't actually damaged. There's, they don't smell smoke, or they're only going to acknowledge it if there's big particles. So the thing I'm going to say about that is make sure you are very firm in requesting that they, and sorry to interrupt you here with your thing, Amy, but that you're firm in requesting an inspection of your home by a certified industrial hygienist. And a lot of the times the adjusters will tell you they don't need it, My comeback to that is great. You are qualified to provide this information. So if you feel qualified to do that, you'll give me a certificate saying that you have inspected my home, that there are no toxic particles in my home, that it is safe to safe to re-inhabit, and that if there's any repercussions from that, you will hold yourself responsible. That should get you a industrial hygienist.
All right, well, thank you. So obviously there are myriad issues here and we didn't want to overwhelm you or go into too much depth, but we have done numerous workshops in the past. Many of them are recorded that focus on this issue in depth, and we will be doing another one in this series for people who have a standing home, partial loss. So let's move on. Is there anything?
So yeah, we have a bunch, and I told people that I would stay on to answer some questions live at the end if they want them. So we've got a lot of them. They're saying
So
that
what we're going to do, yeah, so that's fine. What we're going to do is stop the recording, and then we can continue answering questions.
Okay. Carolyn, can you stop the recording, please?